points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mendel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good early evening, Winnipeg. Good early evening, Manitoba. And for all of those joining us live, wherever you are joining us live from on the interweb, good early evening to you and welcome to another edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show, the 23rd edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show, to be specific.
The Ginsburg-Manouk experience. That's what we're calling it.
If you've forgotten who we are from 4 hours ago or 6 hours ago, I am Dave Manouk. He's my main man, Ezzy Ginsburg. Drew,
allow me to reintroduce myself.
Is not part of this experience. This is, as Ezzy just touched on, the Manouk Ginsburg experience. And we are here to discuss the Jets putting an end to their losing streak. They say goodbye. They say hello to Connor Bedard, and they say goodbye to Connor Bedard because the Jets pick up a big and a much needed win over the Chicago Blackhawks 3-1. Ezra, how are you? It's been a long time.
I am good. Yeah, it's been, what has it been, 6 or 7 hours since we signed off on the morning show. Yeah, it was a little bit too close for comfort, Dave. We were joking that, you know, it kind of had a little bit similar feeling to the Edmonton game where the Jets were hanging on to that 1-goal lead. But obviously, you know, the Jets get the insurance marker. You know, I'm surprised that, you know, they didn't get more goals. Like Soderblom played pretty well, but like starting, you know, towards the end of that first period going into the second period, it was all Jets. Like that middle frame. I mean, the Jets outplayed the Hawks just as bad as they've outplayed anybody this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So give the Hawks credit. Like, you know, great for Jets fans and Hawks fans to see Connor Bedard live for the first time in Winnipeg. Saw some Regina Pats jerseys in the crowd. You were there for the first couple periods at Canada Life, Dave. So, yeah, look, I mean, Chicago definitely is a more respectable team now, just for the simple fact that they have Connor Bedard now, right? Like, and this team is definitely not making the playoffs. I mean, unless they win every single game that's remaining on their schedule. But I don't think anybody expects that to happen. But, yeah, give the Jets credit, right? Like, I thought the first 6 or 7 minutes were pretty sluggish, and the Jets didn't have a lot of possession. And then obviously, you know, they kind of, as I mentioned, they kind of took over in the second half of that first period. So you got to love what Scheifele, Connor, and Ehlers did. Obviously, you know, Perfetti gets the beautiful goal. We'll get into that in the Betway game recap. But I think, and Morgan Barron gets a goal on the fourth line.
On his birthday?
On his birthday. Happy 25th birthday to Morgan. He was at Rumors yesterday and taking in some stand-up comedy. We've been reliably informed by Drew that he was at Rumors. So obviously he got the IC Rumors bump, Dave.
He did get well, and we spoke about him today, of course, on the show. So, I mean, that's generally the IC bump. Hey, we talked about Declan Chisholm. He picks up his first ever point in the NHL. Looked, I thought, extremely good, extremely comfortable. I suspect he's not coming out of the lineup on Monday. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to find out. But the reality, plan the parade. LB says the Jets beat Chicago.
Is that Lauren Brossoit?
I don't know. Maybe Lauren Brossoit is in the chat.
I thought he'd still be in the dressing room or still at the arena, but he's watching the show. Nice. I guess he could be watching the show from the dressing room, right, Dave?
Well, I would hope. I mean, you know, Drew apparently had that experience today where he was in line with someone and they were literally watching the show while they were in line with Drew somewhere. So that does tend to happen. But look, I think it was an important game for the Jets. It was, as you touched on, and we'll get into it when we kick off the recap. I mean, it was definitely a low event first period. It was a bit of a sleepy start for both teams, I thought. Obviously, Chicago got, you know, I think it was either their first or second shot on goal where they scored, and we know who scored, and we'll talk about that, of course, when the recap begins. But to me, it was just kind of a ho-hum first, you know, period. And like I said, I think shots were 7-6 or something in that nature. It was a very low event. And there were a couple of chances, don't get me wrong. And Kyle Connor seems to be a bit snake bit right now. He's had a number of grade A's. And one player who I thought throughout the course of this game, but for I think probably 3 times in the first 10 minutes of that hockey game, I thought was making some excellent passes was Nikolai Ehlers. I mean, Nikolai Ehlers, I had said, you know, a number of times during the, you know, I tweeted, I should say, which are simply my observations, but I said, oh, Nikolai Ehlers set up, you know, insert person's name here. He set up Josh Morrissey for a great chance, which obviously went off the post. He set up Mark Scheifele twice in front of the net. So I thought Nikolai Ehlers did a really good job of facilitating today. And, you know, some of his line mates were unable to finish. But at the same time, you want to see those chances being created. So overall, again, like I said, you're not planning the parade because the Jets beat Chicago, but at the end of the day, you wanted to see that the Jets were able to put a stop to the losing streak and get back in the win column. And again, get some good feelings because you've got a tough battle coming in against you on Monday, but you couldn't look past the Hawks as in anticipation of Carolina.
Right. And we talked about it on this morning's show, how, the Jets have been able to beat the Arizonas, the St. Louis's, those types of teams, the teams that are below them in the standings, the teams they should beat. And yeah, I mean, this game really, there was no reason for this game to be this close if it wasn't for Soderblom. And, just sticking with the lines, right? There was a lot of attention on the Perfetti, Vilardi, IFLO line. And, I thought that there was some good and there was some bad, with that line. And I'm with you, Dave. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Rick Bowness eventually moves up Nito Niederreiter to that second line. He ended up with 5 shots, Niederreiter.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously Mason Appleton had that unbelievable chance in the third period.
Yeah.
Forget who swatted it away for the Hawks.
Zaitsev.
Yeah, it was Zaitsev. I was going to say Seth Jones, but it was Zaitsev back in the lineup. You're right, Dave.
Yeah.
And obviously, Niederreiter, the way he drives the net, right? Like, the Jets don't have a lot of guys that can drive the net, right? Lowry's one of them. Appleton's one of them. Niederreiter is one of them, and they all happen to be on the same line, right? So I thought Niederreiter was really good today. And that line's been a little quieter lately. And we obviously talked about, I thought Axel Janssen-Fjällby had some really good jump today.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously playing in limited minutes. And then we already mentioned, Morgan Barron gets the big goal, a beauty goal on a really nice pass from Nick Ehlers, right? So
once again,
I think this was not a game in which you said, well, the Jets, they just got by Chicago. No, that wasn't the case at all. Chicago stuck around in the first period, but then the Jets really took over in that middle frame and then really never looked back. So yeah, you'd like to have 4 or 5 goals, Dave, and, say that you pounded the Hawks 5-1 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, the Jets, for the most part, really took care of business in this game, and they ended the losing streak. And now, yeah, you've got, a tough opponent coming in with Carolina, and then it's not going to get any easier. It's still amazing to me that the Jets and the Avalanche haven't played yet this year. And obviously, they're going to get the Avalanche twice in 2 weeks, right? Because the Jets are going to play the Avalanche at home. I think it's like 10 days later or something like that. So yeah, this was, not a beauty game. I mean, it was a little sluggish. And when the Jets went up 3-1 in the third period, you kind of knew that this one was over. So I think for the most part, the Jets will be happy with this win.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right, Ez. And I think it's if they didn't, if it was a 1-goal game, then folks are maybe a little bit more, concerned about the end result. But they had it in hand and they just couldn't kind of finish. They had a lot of chances. And like you said, there was a chance for Mason Appleton where the puck's on the line. Josh Morrissey rings it off the post. So there were a number of guys who had opportunities. Kyle Connor had a number of opportunities. Mark Scheifele. They just weren't getting that finish. And again, you're going to face a tougher team in Carolina. We're not going to jump ahead. That's for the 24th edition of the Illegal Curve Postgame Show. We are only on the 23rd edition of the Illegal Curve Postgame Show, which is what you're listening to. So hopefully you're subscribing to our channel. You're smashing that like button because that's what we love for you to do here on our channel each and every time we go live after a Jets game, or of course on Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. Hopefully in a couple weeks you'll be joining us at Farmery and see the IC Beer live and in person, and maybe see us live and in person if you so choose. But again, this was a good win. It was an important win just because, like I said, from removing the taste of that 3-game losing streak and being able to put those 2 wins on the board, get again, we always talk about standings points, as I mean, you're now just 3 back of Colorado and Dallas. Both of those teams have a game in hand. And more importantly, what you do is you put a little distance between yourself and St. Louis.
Sure.
And Arizona.
You're keeping pace, right? And I think you'd agree, Dave, we're less concerned about, keeping distance between yourself and St. Louis or Nashville. I think, most of us think by the time, we get to kind of the mid-season into kind of January, February, there's going to be a little bit more separation, but you want to keep pace with Dallas and Colorado. Like we've talked about this, there's clearly, an identifiable top 3 teams in the Central, and the Jets are obviously one of those teams.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I wanted to talk about was the Jets actually had a slight edge in the faceoffs at 52%.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, talked about a lot in the last couple days leading up to this game, how bad the Jets were. They weren't just bad; they were pathetic. Like 30% against the Oilers. So got to give shout out to Mark Scheifele, 61%, I think it was, and Adam Lowry was 60%, or vice versa. They were both in the low 60s. So that's huge for a couple guys that have struggled a little bit as of late in the face-off circle. So I just wanted to get that in there. I think, that's a notable improvement. Obviously not the reason why they won this game, but that was a huge reason why their possession numbers were so bad against Edmonton, because they were losing 7 out of 10 face-offs.
Yeah, and you knew that based on the end of Rick Bonus's media availability the other day, you knew that how important. I mean, and I know you can have debates over face-offs and the importance of it, but like when you never start with the puck, like it's one thing to be like, okay, well, we started with the puck 40% of the time, or 45% of the time, and not 55. Like that's really a marginal number. But when you're literally starting with the puck 25% of the time, and the opponent has it 75% of the time, it's a problem.
Dave, that Frosty Winnipeg's got the attendance up there.
What's that?
That's the attendance that we have up there. It was 14,180.
I know it's funny. I would have, if we're doing Prices Right rules, Ezzy, I would have been very close in my last game guess, because I said 14-1 when we did it amongst the media as our guess. I said, well, I could see it being around 14-1. I think it was 13-6. But today was a little bit more, a Saturday afternoon. Chicago's always a big draw. Lots of Hawks fans.
I was going to say Connor Bedard deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of Blackhawks fans in Winnipeg. Like we always talk about the Leafs and the Canadians and the Bruins. But I mean, the Chicago Blackhawks are an original 6 team, and there's a lot of fans, going back to the kind of Eddie Belfour, Jeremy Roenick era, the Denny Savard era, right? So
Dirk Graham.
Yeah, exactly. Dirk Graham, nice drop. Can we throw in Dominic Hasek?
Of course. He made one of the greatest saves I've ever seen in the playoffs on Mario Lemieux. Do you remember when he came streaking out of the net and stopped Lemieux? What is it? The blue line? But no, I mean, look, this is and I was just going to say, finish that thought as actually, about the Hawks and the, Bedard and all the fans. It's interesting because, all the name bars always used to be Taves.
Jay Miller, by the way, is going way back with Murray Bannerman.
Murray Bannerman.
I think Murray Bannerman's like the 1960s.
No.
70s?
No. Bannerman, he played probably in the 70s, but he definitely played in the 80s. By the way, if folks are trying to figure out, Ezzy's little means he's doing a little search. He's using the old Google, I think. So we'll get an answer to that question very soon. But
1980s.
Yeah. I thought Bannerman was in the 80s. But anywho, the point is that
he broke into the NHL in the 1970s. I think I said 1960s, so I did go.
You did say 60s. We're not talking about when Drew was born or actually I should say when Drew was celebrating his 20th birthday. But this is of course is the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're talking about the Jets and the Hawks game. Jets win 3-1. We're about to start the post-game, the Betway game recap.
Can't forget the Iron Man either.
Steve Larmer, yeah, he was something else. Look, Chicago had great teams. We listened when we were at the Y Sports Dinner to 3 of the Hawks greats in Roenick and Chelios and Belfour, and they told some great stories. So really good teams in Chicago. Couldn't get it quite done in the 90s, of course, running up against who they run up against. Well, obviously Pittsburgh and Mario Lemieux. That's a bit of a tough one right there. So good teams, but that's not why we're here, Ezzy. That's not why everybody's spending their Saturday, I would say late afternoon, almost evening, to talk about the Winnipeg Jets and their victory over the current Connor Bedard and his Chicago Blackhawks. So, and
Connor Bedard did not disappoint, and not just the goal that got the scoring kicked off, but you saw that pass to Philip Kurashev. That was late in the second period, and
the backhand pass.
Yeah, that backhand pass.
Yeah.
Similar. I don't know if you thought this too, Dave. Very similar
to
Ehlers one? Or Scheifele.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Scheifele one.
And Connor all have that ability to fire those quick backhand passes. So Hellebuyck had to make a good save there on Kurashev. But I mean, Bedard, you can see, like we were talking about, Bedard's on pace for around 70 points. It's just a matter of time before he hits 100 points. Like it might be in his second or third year. Like this guy is going to be exactly what he was advertised as. He's a generational player.
Oh yeah.
The skill level is just, it's ridiculous. It's right up there, with Crosby and McDavid and whoever, Austin Matthews, the best players in the world. And he's only 18 years old. You have to remind yourself that. I mean, most of us at 18 years old, we're just trying to, wake up on time to get to our university classes, and this guy's already, one of the best players in the world.
Yeah,
Not you, Dave. You had no problem waking up for university.
That's actually not true. I was a night owl, not an early riser, unfortunately. But as 7JP 7B said, Bedard is having already one of the best rookie seasons ever, and he looked like it in today's game. You could see the skill. It's evident. And
I still think Dale Hawerchuk's record is going to be okay, though.
I suspect you are correct. Let's get into it, courtesy of our friends from Betway.
The Betway Game Recap.
Let's get right into it as the game started. As I said, it was a bit of a sleepy period, and that, I guess, favored the Hawks because they took advantage of a miscue by Dylan Samberg. The one thing I will say, and this is just an aside, and we're already segueing, even though we haven't even gotten into the first goal, but I always love when a guy makes a mistake and it's as if he's the worst player in the history of the world. Like the amount of disdain, and I mean, it wasn't crazy, but it was just so funny how people were already ready to burn Dylan Samberg at the stake and send him to the Moose. Even though, I mean, again, don't get me wrong, we're going to highlight it. It wasn't a good play by Dylan Samberg, but he does do a lot of other things very well. And so, yes, one play, which ends up as a goal against, not ideal, but it's just, I always find it funny when some of the comments are just tearing this kid apart, even though we spent the morning talking about how Dylan Samberg's been having a pretty good season. So,
he's been having a great season. And yes, this was a mistake. I think, was it Nick Ehlers that he was trying to get the pass to, or Nino Niederreiter? I forget who it was. But Samberg goes behind his net on his backhand.
It was Niederreiter.
It was Niederreiter. Sorry. So he tries to make the pass to Niederreiter. Yeah. And it's obviously picked off by Connor Bedard. So Connor Bedard spins around and his passes it to Khrushchev. And then it ends up going off of Declan Chisholm's skate. The feed from the pass from Khrushchev.
That's right.
Right. So, I mean, Declan Chisholm, he's fine. He steps up on Khrushchev. Nothing wrong there. But yes, it was an ill-advised pass by Samberg, backhand. Luckily, the Jets win this game 3-1, and nobody's going to be talking about this. So, yes, I mean, Samberg knows that, he turned the puck over in his own zone. Nobody needs to tell him that. It's not like, Rick Bowness or, Scott O'Neill or Marty Johnston, Brad Lauer. It's not like they're going to have to have a big sit-down with Dylan Samberg. Samberg rarely makes those types of mistakes, Dave. So, it was, a little bit unexpected. But look, Connor Bedard, we always talk about how good he is offensively. Well, on that play, that was a pretty good defensive play by Bedard because he obviously, starts off the play. And then, we talked about Khrushchev's pass goes off of Chisholm's skate and then goes right to Bedard, who's wide open, and the net is wide open, right? So, yeah, bad turnover. But let's pump the brakes because Samberg so far this season has been excellent defensively. And he also gets an assist on Morgan Barron's goal, right? So he made up for it.
Well, I mean, and let's be realistic. The craziest part when you're watching the replay is that Connor Hellebuyck almost made the save. He actually got a stick across and actually got a piece of the Bedard shot. Not all of it, but he clearly almost made the save. So, I mean, look, it's one of those, and yeah, you're right, Ezzy. I mean, and we're not going to be here just to pump Declan Chisholm's tires. We will be throughout the course of this broadcast because I thought he had a really good first game. But we're not here to, if he does make a mistake, like any Jets player, we will call them out. Moose affiliation removed. But the fact of the matter is that, it's one of those plays that it's just unfortunate who it bounces to, right? Niederreiter is, a shade slow staying with Bedard, and Bedard gets some time and space. And, with a guy who has a shot that good, gets that puck, it's going to probably end up in the back of the net. And like I said, Connor Hellebuyck almost makes the stop. That's the impressive part when you watch that replay, is that Hellebuyck, who is probably a little bit out of position on that opportunity, still almost makes the save. So, I mean, it's 4:39. And I will say, and it's interesting because when you're watching it, when you're in the arena, again, first of all, there's Hawks fans in the arena, so they get a little bit of juice, a little bump. But it's just kind of the Jets fans, especially on a 3-game losing streak, and you give up the first goal on like I said, I think it was either the first or second shot for the Hawks, because there wasn't a lot happening. I mean, at that point, I think it was 2-1 for the Winnipeg Jets in terms of shots. So it was
definitely their first or second shot of the
right.
game.
So it was a low event point, even though it'd been 5 minutes into that hockey game. And of course, now you've got the Jets playing from a deficit. So you're wondering, again, not that the Jets are a super fragile team, because again, they're very well positioned from where they're, when you look at it from where they are from a standings perspective, but because of their current situation, having lost 3 games in a row, you do wonder how the team is going to respond, having given up the first goal of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one more thing on Declan Chisholm. He ended up playing just under 13 minutes, 12:58. We talked about it. We're going to get into it on Morgan Barron's goal. He picked up an assist. His Corsi was positive at even strength.
Yeah.
So I would say overall, right? Like that was a pretty good first game of the season for him. First ever home game, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we're not sure if he's going to play next game against Carolina, right? Like,
No.
I mean, your guess is as good as mine, Dave. I wouldn't be surprised if Chisholm stays in. Maybe they go back to Nate Schmidt because it's a more of a veteran team and just a better team. But I think for his first game, like, what more could you ask for, right? Like, assist. He was positive, expected goals, right? Like, yes, he was on the ice for the Connor Bedard goal, but who cares? That was really, all the Hawks had going. We talked about it. They had a few other good scoring chances, but nothing crazy. So I think, Declan's probably going to be really happy with, and the most important thing is the Jets won, right? Like, and so I think that, we're not going to get too excited about one game, but
Yeah.
what I saw.
No, I don't think there's any question about it. And again, I was going to get into this a little bit later, but I guess we can talk about it now. I mean, as I've discussed for a number of years, his skating is exceptional, and I thought look, and let's be realistic. I said this. It's the 23rd game of the Jets season. He hasn't played a game in the NHL in 23 months, right? And so you've got to give the kid a little latitude in terms of acclimatizing to the NHL game, because much as we cover the AHL and we respect the hockey that we watch at the AHL level, it's not the NHL. And so there's a lot more chaos in the AHL. It's a lot less straightforward. It's a lot less crisp. So when a guy has to adjust to playing against guys who, generally don't miss those passes, that's an adjustment period. So I actually thought he adjusted. He made a lot of small, short passes, but they were crisp. They were clean. And again, his skating was good. And there was one play at the blue line where you could see his edge work is so good that he burns a guy. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember which Hawk player, but he drops, and then Chisholm gets the puck into the Hawks zone. So yeah, I mean, like you said, Ezzy, whether they go back to Nate Schmidt, because they may go back to him or not, but you've got a kid who was able to contribute in his first game. So we'll see where it goes. But from a first game in the NHL this season, and like I said, in almost 2 years, it was a pretty good effort from the kid. And we'll keep going and keep talking about what he was able to do and what the Jets were able to do, because about 6 minutes later, as it was a power play for the Winnipeg Jets. And I got to give credit, because again, we're going to talk about Gabe Vilardi, I think, and he's slowly, he said it. It's funny because I remember when Gabe Vilardi was talking a few days ago, and he essentially said, well, I've only played 2 games. And in my head, I was like, well, what do you mean? You've got 3. But then he wasn't wrong. Like, what do you have? Like 2 shifts in that first period against LA. And then he was, of course, knocked out of the game. So he really has only played 2 games this season. Obviously played the Oilers game, played around 13 minutes. What were his minutes today as? I didn't really, do you have it in front of you? I don't know how many minutes he ended up playing.
Are you talking about Vilardi? Hold on one sec. Yeah, I was queuing up the highlight here, Dave. You caught me a little bit.
Sorry, sorry about that, as I should have.
No, it's all good. Gabe Vilardi was at 16 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay, so he got a little more time, but again, the where he's going to get that extra time, where he's going to get those extra minutes to really, again, start to build back his conditioning, is the power play. And I thought you can see his skill, and we saw it on this goal, because he makes a phenomenal move before he gets the puck to Mark Scheifele, who had a number of really good chances, like grade A chances in the slot tonight. But this one he finishes off, and the Jets have it's a 1-1 game, courtesy of their power play. But really, I thought Vilardi was a big reason for why the Jets were able to tie the game 6 minutes later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can't talk about this goal without really focusing on Vilardi, as you have, Dave. Like, nice outlet pass to by Josh Morrissey to Vilardi at center. But yeah, it's really all it's all the pass there. And watching that play develop, I thought, because Gabe Vilardi is a shooter, he likes to shoot the puck. I was thinking, okay, they have kind of a little bit of a 2-on-1 there. I was thinking Vilardi was going to shoot, but that's just so smart, right? Like, you can't really teach that. That's just something, a situational play where you have to know that everyone's expecting him to shoot, but instead he drops the pass. And I forget who it was on the Hawks that was defending him, because there were actually two Hawks as he was bringing the puck up the boards.
I think it was Vlasic.
Vlasic was the defenseman. You're right, Dave.
Yeah.
But it was just an inside-outside move. But just an incredible pass to Scheifele on the fly. And that's something that the Jets haven't been doing a lot of lately. We talked about it. They've really been struggling both at 5-on-5 and on the power play the last 3 games. So you like to see that. Connor Murphy was the one who took the penalty on Kyle Connor. Connor drew the first 2 penalties, actually. So, the Jets power play continues to hum along. But yeah, you love to see that, chemistry from Vilardi and Scheifele. And you love to see that the Jets scored early in that power play.
For sure. I didn't take them very long. And the other thing also was that Cole Perfetti made himself an option, right? I mean, he used his positioning to, if Vilardi hits Perfetti, he's pretty much got an open net as well, which makes Soderblom have to think, well, I got Perfetti on the far side and he's got to step on my man, and I've got Scheifele. So he's got 2 threats coming at him, and he's still got to think about Vilardi, because of course he could shoot short side, and then you don't want a squeaker, which we've seen here. Anyways, we'll see what happens in that regard. But ultimately, it was an interesting play. But I think it's one of those situations, Ezzy, that you were knowing that if the Jets were going to get going, it was going to be at something like that, where their power play has been humming along a little bit better. And like I said, that's a way to get Vilardi more into the game and more, used to playing hockey again, because he's so far behind everybody else that it's tough for him to be like, again, everybody's played, like I said today, 23 games. And he's played 4. So
I still don't think that second line necessarily is necessarily the ideal line. Like we talked about it, I'd like to see what Nino Niederreiter can do at this point. And I realize that you're breaking up a good thing with Lowry, Appleton, and Niederreiter, but Alex Iafallo is not performing at the level that he was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And I'm not saying anything overall negative about Iafallo. I'm just saying that I think that line wasn't maybe as dynamic as you would like to see against a really bad team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something to keep an eye on, right? Niederreiter used to play for the Hurricanes, so maybe because of that reason, and the fact we mentioned it earlier, right? Niederreiter had 5 shots, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, led the Jets today in shots on goal. So Niederreiter was really good, as were Lowry and Appleton as well. But that, to your point, that's why Vilardi gets the power play looks, right?
Yeah.
So
well,
if Vilardi's going to stay on that second line with Perfetti, I think I would like to see what Niederreiter can do up there.
And look, Perfetti had an interesting game, because I thought he looked a little bit frustrated. His pass to Ehlers on the 2-on-1 in the second period goes a bit awry, ends up behind Nikolai Ehlers. I think it was the pass to Ehlers on the 2-on-1. And we saw a little emotion from the number 91, because you don't generally see it. I don't know if they showed it on the broadcast but he slammed his stick rather emphatically and quickly switched out for a new twig, because he was not particularly pleased with the pass he made. So he blamed the stick, not himself. He blamed the stick on that one, but he of course made up for it with the insurance goal, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I mean, the fact is that the Jets get that equalizer, and it's an important one, because again, not that we're thinking that the Hawks are some, dynamic team, but they have some good wins in the last month. And again, they are still an NHL team. And I know folks tend to discount these games, and we said it, this is a game the Jets should win. The Jets did win, but at the same time, teams sometimes lose to these teams, right? These quote trap games. And ultimately from a Jets perspective, you didn't want to get mired into that. And you didn't want to go into the first intermission, I should say, without that sort of feeling of, okay, we're this game is even, and now we'll see what happens coming up next.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, for me, probably the biggest part of that was, going back to what we talked about, the Jets' lack of goal scoring, right? Like this little stretch here, this 3-game losing streak, we talked about it on this morning show. I don't think, Drew, yourself, or I were that concerned, like that this was going to turn into an extended losing streak, partly because of the Jets' opponent this afternoon. Apologies to the Hawks, but I mean, they're just not a very good team.
No.
But I think it's because, the Jets were still getting opportunities versus the Oilers and versus the Stars and versus the Predators. So you're right. I mean, going down 1 goal, I mean, the Jets could have easily still come back and won this game, but they got rewarded for putting out a good look on the power play, right? And like, this isn't your typical power play where you get it set up and Scheifele passes over to Connor and Connor gets it back to Morrissey. But there's nothing wrong with scoring a goal in transition on the power play. So good for Gabe Vilardi. He obviously looked much better than he did against Edmonton. He's only going to get better. And once they figure out that second line, if it's Niederreiter on that line or maybe Iafallo stays on that line, I think they will start to produce better at even strength. But yeah, I mean, like we said, that was a pretty low event first period, but you still got to give the Jets were still the better team in that first period, even if they only had 5 shots or 6 shots or whatever it was.
Well, and this is the better version of the Illegal Curve postgame show when it's just Dave Minuk and Ezra Ginsburg bringing it to you as we do each and every single time the Jets play a hockey game. You join us after the final buzzer here on the Illegal Curve postgame show. Be part of the discussion, because as folks can see in the chat, sometimes it's completely removed from what we are discussing. Sometimes you're interacting with us, sometimes you're not. Either way, hopefully you're having a good time chatting with folks, joining them in the chat. You'll be joining us live next Thursday at Boston Pizza on Taylor for the Illegal Curve postgame show, the live broadcast, if you will. And that starts at 8 o'clock when the Jets take on Colorado. But for now, we are entering the second period and again, like I said, my takeaway was that I thought Nikolai Ehlers, I know people are a little bit down because he hasn't been producing a ton, but he sure did set up his line mates quite a number of times in that first period. And he finally gets rewarded in the second period because he makes what I thought was a hell of a good pass to Morgan Barron. And the birthday boy himself, who, a lot of people are talking about in the chat right now about how impactful Barron was in this game and in other games. And maybe he needs a little bit of a bigger role. Well, he made a case for himself because he used his legs, created some opportunity, and sniped what proved to be the game-winning goal in that second period. But really nice setup I thought by Nikolai Ehlers with the vision to wait for Barron, hit him with that pass, and then let Barron finish it off.
So the Ehlers pass is you're right about that. It was a beautiful laser pass. But I also want to point out a couple things before that happened on that goal, including a really good back check from Morgan Barron. But Dylan DeMello breaks up a pass from Anthony Beauvillier to Connor Bedard. So it was a sneaky good play by Dylan DeMello, but those types of plays I don't think get talked about enough. So anytime DeMello makes a significant defensive play, I'm going to try to bring it up on the post-game show. So DeMello starts it off in his own zone and then gets it to Ehlers. And yes, this pass is unbelievable. Connor Murphy dives and unsuccessfully tries to break up that pass. But it's Anthony Beauvillier who's the only player back. His pass we just mentioned was cut off by Dylan DeMello. But I mean, just great speed by Morgan Barron coming down that left side to the right of Soderblom, and just a beautiful goal. Like, Morgan Barron, I think, has been a little bit forgotten about now that he's on the fourth line, right? And that's to be expected a little bit, right? Because when you're on the fourth line, you get less minutes. You maybe don't play as much, special teams. Barron obviously is more of a penalty killer. He's not, on the power play, even though I think he's a pretty good goal scorer and has some decent hands. But yeah, just a beautiful pass, Dave, by Ehlers. And, just a nice, simple shot by Barron, right? Like, people forget, like, at Cornell, Morgan Barron wasn't a defensive forward. Like, Morgan Barron was a top forward for Cornell. What did he score? 20 goals or something like that. So this is just a goal scorer's goal, right? Like, you just kind of have your head up, find your spot, and it was a low shot on the ice. So just nice to see Morgan Barron get rewarded. It was his 4th goal of the year. But for a guy that I think, if you want to call it a demotion, going down from the 3rd line to the 4th line, I think he's handled it really well. And as you mentioned on this morning's show, Dave, Barron is a guy you can move up to the 3rd line, and I think he's got the skill that he could even play in the top 6. I'm not saying that, he should be on the 2nd line or the 1st line or anything like that. I'm just saying, I think, let's not forget, this is only Barron's 2nd full NHL season. He's only 25 years old. So, at 25 years old, you're not an old guy by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
There's still room to grow in his game.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that people see, opportunity for him. And I think that was kind of the idea behind what some of my comments were.
I agree with Kitty Pup, by the way. Lasers are the future.
Okay, sure. I mean, that's not a bad thing, I guess. I had one of those laser pointers I used to like.
I hated those.
I like those. I had like one of those little red dot ones, you know.
I remember going to a movie at
I would never do it
Old
publicly.
Portage Place, and someone had a laser pointer on the entire time, and it just absolutely
I wouldn't do
ruined the
something
movie.
like that. But speaking of,
I know you wouldn't, Dave.
Is our boy Bruce, who I believe I gave Moose tickets to for tomorrow, although it was a different name perhaps. But ultimately, he'll be going to see the Moose play the Ice Hogs. Sorry, not Ice Hawks. It is the Chicago Blackhawks Farm Club tomorrow afternoon. It's the 150th anniversary of the RCMP, so they'll be wearing specialty jerseys tomorrow afternoon. Puck drop at 2:00. Canada Life. I will be there. Hopefully, you will as well. But the fact is that, to me, Morgan Barron is a guy who I think is again, like you said, he's a little bit forgotten, but I think he's one of those interchangeable parts where if you need to move Niederreiter up, you can move Barron up. And
Sure.
I still think that third line is going to continue to, I think he's with Appleton, Lowry, and Barron. I think you could have not necessarily as good, because I think Niederreiter is a big driver, but I think Barron isn't a huge fall off from Niederreiter. So to me, there's an opportunity at least for that third line to keep humming if you need to get Niederreiter up to that, one of the other lines, and you want to drop Iafallo down. And that's, I think, kind of the whole idea of like shifting pieces on a chessboard that we've talked about with this Jets club, is that you don't really have, I don't want to be too chessy right now, but you don't have too many queens, you know what I mean? Or whatever.
If you ever want to play a game of chess, by the way, I'm completely down, because not a lot of people know this. I don't even know if I've ever mentioned this. I might have. At this point, Dave, all I am is recycled stories on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. But true story, I was the chess champion at Robert H. Smith School. I think I was in grade 5 or grade 6, because I used to play chess a lot with my dad. Shout out to John Ginsberg, former math professor at the University of Winnipeg. So, hopefully his, I got a little bit of his genes right. Yeah. But then I went to this, I feel like they had the city tournament, city championship. I want to say it was at R.B. Russell School. It was a school in the North End, Dave. So there I am, little chubby Ezra, 11 years old, thinking I'm such a good chess player. I think I won the first game, and then I went up against a kid, and he beat me in like 5 or 6 moves. So I was like, okay, I'm 1-1. See how I do in the third game. And then I got obliterated again, and then called my dad to pick me up. So I was basically like out of the chess tournament in like 90 minutes. So I thought it was like this hot shot because I won my school chess competition, but no, I was not very good at that level. But yeah, if you ever want to play, Dave, I love a good chess match.
Well, is your boy Bruce is saying that everybody else is playing checkers when Big Daddy Ezra Ginsberg is playing chess. So 3D chess for the record. So look at that. But anyways, let's get back to the hockey, because as Spency says, this is not chess lunch. We're trying to focus on the Jets win over the Hawks. A reminder, this is the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezra Ginsberg.
What's your favorite piece, by the way? I love the night.
Interesting. As you know what? I'm just a pawn. I'm just I go with the numbers. Although I like the castle as well. Big fan of the castle.
Yeah, rook.
Anyways, let's keep this thing going. But look, the Jets are down up 2-1 after 40 minutes. And, it's worth noting that, as you said earlier, the Jets really did dominate in that second period. They were up 11-6.
Just look at the possession.
Yeah, the possession. Well, I mean, why don't you share the possession with everyone?
Well, the possession, if you're going by even strength Corsi, the Jets were at 65%.
Yeah. And they outshot Chicago. They possessed the puck. It was pretty clear that they, had a good second period. And again, like I said, the finishing is a bit of an issue, right? Kyle Connor, again, is a little bit snake bit. We can see that. He may want to smash his stick like Cole Perfetti did. But the Jets have a 2-1 lead heading into the third. And sure enough, speaking of Cole Perfetti, at the midpoint of that third period, sets up a, like I said, opportunity with, I think Alex Iafallo gets the puck over to Declan Chisholm, who gets it over to Dylan Samberg, fires a shot on net, and Cole Perfetti with just the
Manitoba Moose connection, Dave. That was
I was getting there.
I was going to say something that maybe was inappropriate, but I was going to say the opposite of dry dream.
Okay. Well, regardless of where you're going with that, second time, by the way, as he's been a smidge inappropriate on an Illegal Curve broadcast, but ultimately that is a made in Manitoba connection. And don't worry, we're on YouTube. Nobody's going to censure us, and we don't have to worry about anyone, except we try and keep it PC because Bailey could be in the chat. So for those who are under 18, let's just keep it clean here as. But the fact is, it was a beautiful tip by Cole Perfetti. And you're right, it was a made in Manitoba connection, all guys who have played for the Moose. At least I think I tweeted out, although I was wrong, I was reliably informed by Daniel Fink, our guest this morning, that I had the number of games for Declan Chisholm wrong. It felt light when I wrote it, but I was doing some quick math. But
we're all human, Dave. We all make
mistakes. True. But the point is, I wasn't wrong in the sense that they were all members of the Manitoba Moose. There are also 3 guys who have never been in my kitchen. But ultimately, the Jets take a 3-1 lead on this goal by Cole Perfetti.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure if we're going to give this. I have my fireball
right here. We're going to. Well, I was hold on.
I've got it ready here. So just let me know.
Okay, well, hold on. And that's why I was going to say, and that's why this was, even though it was really more of a tip than a shot, Ezzy.
I'm pouring it right now, Dave.
But because it was more of a tip than a shot, we're still going to give it the
Seager shot of the game.
Because
cheers.
Heck, a good shot by him. There we go. Ezzy's going to give the fireball a little shot. And that was a nice shot by Dylan Samberg.
Smooth.
Nice tip by Cole Perfetti. His 9th goal of the season, as he now eclipses in 23 games his total for last year. He had 8 goals in 51 games for the Winnipeg Jets. And so he's got 9 in 23. He's on a pace for about 30 this year, which is critical because we've talked about the Jets needing scoring outside of Connor, Scheifele, and Ehlers. So if they can get 25 to 30 from Cole Perfetti in basically his second full season, that's going to be significant. But what did you see on that goal and how it kind of came about?
Well, in addition to the Manitoba Moose connection there, I mean, and the numbers that you just railed off, Dave, Dan Robertson mentioned on the broadcast, 13 of 15 games Perfetti has a point. Like, that's incredible. And you're absolutely right. Like, when we talked about, the Jets' chances this season prior to the season starting, the big focus was obviously on defense. Could the Jets be better defensively as a team? Well, we know the answer to that. They have been much better defensively as a team. Cole Perfetti, Nikolai Ehlers, they needed to stay healthy. They've been healthy. And the Jets needed Cole Perfetti specifically to be more of an impact player on the second line. Not that he wasn't good last year. He still had 30 points in 50 games or 31 points in 50 games. Anyways, I'm digressing, but Cole Perfetti, I think, has quietly been the best player on that second line, or not so quietly. And more so when I say quietly, it's the way he celebrates. I love that. He just scores and then he kind of, gives a couple fist bumps, lets a guy maybe hug him. And then he goes, I just love the way he's very unassuming, I think would be the word to use. But on this particular goal, just good puck movement at the points between Chisholm and Samberg. And we talked about it. Those guys were on the ice for the Connor Bedard goal. So they obviously redeemed themselves, and it's a good face-off win. And, you got to love Alex Iafallo causing a little bit of havoc. But, I mean, it's just a nice point shot, Dave, and just a nice tip. And I think what we're seeing is Cole Perfetti right before our eyes. He's obviously not Joe Pavelski yet, but he has those types of hands. And that's the thing about Perfetti that I remember when we were talking to Craig Button after the Jets drafted him 10th overall back in, was it 2020 or 2021? I think 2020. He was saying that this is a great overall player, right? Like the hockey IQ is obviously there, but this is a guy that can shoot the puck. He can pass, not the fastest skater, but he's a reliable defensive player. But yeah, those hands, Dave, like, just incredible. So I just love this goal. And obviously that was the insurance goal that the Jets didn't get against Edmonton. So it gave them some breathing room. And after the Jets went up two goals after the Perfetti goal, I mean, this game was over. You didn't get I don't think anybody had the feeling that the Hawks were coming back to tie this game.
No. And again, it just shows you how, like you just said, Ezzy, how critical it is. First of all, how important was that face-off win? Right. You get the face-off win, and that's important. And you get the insurance. And you're right. Like, look, Chicago didn't deserve to win that game, but if it's only 2-1, it's not out of question. Now, based on the way Chicago played with the net empty, and we can talk about that a little bit, because at one point you said to me while we're watching that third period, the Jets have 3 guys in the Hawks zone. The Hawks have 6, and they can't clear that puck out of their own end. Like, it was actually crazy how much pressure the Jets were exerting, or the Hawks' lack of ability to break out of that pressure. But look, the Jets were able to lock it down, and they played a pretty good game from that point on, because there's still 10 minutes to go in the game. They were still pushing, they were still pressing, trying to add to their lead. We had wrongly had predicted, I should say, as that we thought it might be a 4-1 conclusion. It ends up being a 3-1 conclusion. But it's an important
One more
game.
thing, sorry, Dave, I was just going to say on that tip, because this isn't, Perfetti right in front of the net, right? Like this is around the dots. The craziest thing is, as you mentioned, he wins the faceoff, and I forget who the center was for Chicago, but he fights him off, and he's actually skating, like moving backwards when Samberg, when it's a mid-ice tip. So that was impressive. Like that shows you, it's like that to me is all hand-eye coordination. Like that's just you having good awareness, right? Like good body awareness. And that's all I'm saying. Like it's not like he was like stationary, and that's what's impressive. Like just an incredible tip.
Well, and the other thing you like to see is that everybody had a piece of that, right? Like Perfetti wins the faceoff, gets it over to IFL, who puts it over to Vilardi, who puts it to Chisholm, who puts it to Samberg, and then Perfetti touches it again. I think that was the chronology of it. Yeah. And then, it was Vilardi over to Chisholm and Samberg, and then the shot. And then, like I said, the tip. So all 5 guys, not very often you see that where
have given it to Samberg, and then Vilardi would have got the assist. But Vilardi said, you know what, I already got my goal today. Let's put Chisholm his point. So, I mean, that just shows you how, selfless Vilardi is.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's a big point for Declan Chisholm, because, we talk about how you have an impact on this game. And we thought his skating was excellent. I thought the conditioning stint really served him well. As I said on the broadcast this morning, I talked to Mark Morrison, and he just said how again, the points are really not that important what he got. He got the 5 assists in 6 games, but it was more just getting his skating back. Because as everyone who watches this show and watches the game, the reality is, you're watching, when you watch Declan Chisholm, you can see what is his biggest asset. His biggest asset is his skating. And so when his skating is
that's a good asset.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to have one asset, you want skating. I mean, you'd like to have everything. You'd like to have the hands and everything.
Well,
but yeah, the skating
he did almost score, right? On the power play. I mean, he did get second power play unit time. He did almost score a goal. And I think it was in the first period when they came on at the end of the first one of the power plays. So I just think it was an important game for him because, he's got confidence. I mean, like I said, he had the 2 games in Detroit and St. Louis, but now he's played his first NHL game here in Winnipeg. And I suspect it'll be first of many, because he looks like he didn't look out of place. Now, again, we'll qualify it by saying A, it was one game, and B, it was against Chicago. So maybe some tougher competition. We'll see what happens with Declan Chisholm and whether he stays in, and we'll find that out. The Jets right now, I think, are scheduled still to practice tomorrow at 11 o'clock, whether they maintain that or punt it because of the win. And then
they might use it, Dave, just because they haven't had a lot of practice time lately.
I would agree with you. And the other thing is, I didn't think this was a particularly taxing game. So I don't think that it wasn't a heavy game. It wasn't a game that you thought, okay, these guys need a break from that. So we'll see if they do. We'll stay tuned to the Jets PR. But at the end of the day, the Jets end their losing streak at 3 games. They win the game. They are 13-8-2, which is good enough for 3rd spot in the Central. Right now, goal differential +10. They are one of the top scoring teams in the Central, one of the least goals against, which, again, especially based on how things were going early, didn't think it was the way it was going to be. But that is the way it is. And now, of course, the next Jets game coming your way in 2 days on Monday. It's a weird time, 6:30 start time against the Carolina Hurricanes. Of course, it will be the Fly the 48 game. So you'll get a chance to see the new jersey in full effect. I saw a lot of people wearing
Military Appreciation Night, right?
Yes, it is Military Appreciation Night. And as I said, tomorrow's Moose game, RCMP, in honor of the RCMP, 150 years of the RCMP. So a lot of fun with those, honoring those organizations, institutions. Okay, well, we've gotten through it. We've had a heck of a post-game not the preamble, but we did the preamble. We did the Betway game recap. Our thanks to our friends at Betway, of course. Each and every time we go live on the Illegal Curve post-game show, we owe a big thanks to our friends at Betway. But first, as we're going to head to break, because it's been a good game. It's been a good post-game show. But
get some oxygen, Dave. I mean, when Mindell's not on the show, you have to do all the talking that he usually does, right? So we have to take a break.
Yeah,
maybe have a little bit of a bathroom break, and just catch our breath.
We will. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to listen to my co-host right there, Ezra Ginsburg. We're going to head to commercial break. We will be right back after these words from our fine sponsors.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal. Starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Betalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Betalytics.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I am your temporary host, Dave Minuk. I almost said Ezra Ginsburg. He is Ezra Ginsburg over there. He's drinking some water.
I feel like that would be, well, after I had a little fireball shot, had to have a little bit of water. I feel like, Dave, that's how like a nightmare would start. where you started the show off and you're like, I'm Ezra Ginsburg. And then you're like, oh my God, what has happened?
That'd actually be good, as we should switch screens and then you come here and do it from mine and I'll do it from yours and see if how people, maybe we'll do that on another show. We'll have a little, maybe that will be an April 1st type of show, but all right. Well, it's been a long show. It's been a long series of shows this weekend and this week. And
the best part though is we have the whole night to ourselves. I mean, I'm going to go home and, probably put my kids to bed and then just fall asleep on the couch. I always try to stay up for Saturday Night Live, but I usually fall asleep and then end up going to bed at like 11. But that's the nice thing about the afternoon game. Me, Dave, my preferred time for hockey game is 8 o'clock because then my kids are usually in bed by then or close to being in bed. But yeah, there's been a lot of Saturday afternoon games. Like we talked about it. They've got, is the 16th versus Colorado?
6 o'clock.
Oh, I thought that was an afternoon game.
No, the Minnesota Wild one is a 2 o'clock.
Right. That's the New Year's Eve.
No, sorry. That's a 1 p.m. start.
Right.
This today was a 2 p.m. Then the Colorado one on the 16th is a 6 p.m. And then the one against the Wild at the end of the month is a 1 p.m.
Yeah, a lot of Saturday afternoon games. I mean, there's always something about the schedule that's a little bit odd, right? Like this has been a pretty good first 8 to 10 weeks of the season, right? Like the Jets have had a lot of space between games, right? Like they haven't played. I mean, I'm not going to say the schedule's been easy, but they've yet to play Colorado. They've yet to play Boston. I mean, now they're going to play Carolina. I mean, they've had Vegas twice. They've had Dallas several times, right? So, I mean, they have played good teams, but I would say that overall, I mean, the schedule's been pretty good for them in terms of just the amount of days between games. Not a lot of back-to-backs, right? I think there've only been 2 back-to-backs so far.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, like, there's no question about. I mean, they have a back-to-back. We know next, not this upcoming week, but the weekend after, when they're playing in San Jose on the Tuesday and then LA on the Wednesday. California.
Man, I got to watch The Wizard tonight.
It's funny that
Fred
that movie,
Savage.
Yeah, that's a classic. That's a great movie with the
I was
the
obsessed
glove
with that movie when I was a kid.
Remember the glove? The kid. What was the name of what was the name of that kid? Lucas.
Well, I didn't remember that, but
yeah, Lucas. I think I watched it relatively
Beau
recently.
Bridges was in that movie.
That's a classic. Yeah, Beau Bridges was his dad. Yeah, that was a good movie. What is this? What are we, Siskel and Ebert right now?
Were you a Wonder Years guy, Dave?
I did like Wonder Years, yes.
Yeah, I remember I would always watch that show. I would walk home from school and watch the Wonder Years.
I won't mention which one of my
huge
friends
crush on Winnie.
I was going to say I won't mention which one of my friends is a big Winnie Cooper fan and may or may not have been buying her books because she was like a math whiz or something like that. And
I know who that friend is, by the way.
Yeah, but we won't give him a shout out. We will give some others. Although I understand a lot of, and again, I want to say there were a lot of people from out of town who flew in for this game and got a chance to see it. Connolly, our friend from Alberta, he was here with his dad. He got a chance to see it. Folks will remember him from years past. And a friend from BC, Chris, was here with his kids, got into a practice and managed to take them to today's game and got a good experience. So
I hear there was a little name drop.
There may have been a name drop. There may have been a name drop. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to encourage anyone else, but Chris did name drop Dave M, and somehow
that's what you do. If you're at Canada Life Center and you need something, you just say Dave Manouk. Those are magical words.
Well,
Dave is so well liked at Canada Life Center. Everybody knows him. The security guards, the concession staff, Moose management, Moose players. Just say Dave Manouk, and the world is at your fingertips.
Well, I hope not. Don't encourage that sort of behavior. I don't want people. I didn't know that this was going to be happening, but ultimately. A lot of
folks now is just running down Portage Avenue yelling, Dave Manouk!
Let's hope not. But anyways, look, the fact is, I think a lot of people got a chance, and we're seeing like a little bit of a bigger crowd in the last couple of games. We'll see if that tradition or that continues on.
Just one more thing on the Wonder Years.
Sure.
Jay's talking about Josh Saviano, who played Paul. Who was
was
that rumor about Marilyn Manson.
It's not true though.
No,
but it was, it is
that
it
rumor is, and the razor blades at Skinner's Wet and Wild.
I remember that one.
Yeah. Anybody from Manitoba, people from Manitoba won't get that one.
Spency says, I always say I'm Dave Manouk when the cops stop me. Well, I have a number of cop friends, so that wouldn't be a bad thing. You could just drop some names.
Another whopper for the copper.
Yeah, but if you hopefully you don't say that. Hopefully you don't get stopped by the cops, Spency. That's the more important thing. And thank you, Bardot. I don't know that everyone loves me, but some folks love me. So that's always nice.
How could you not love Dave? That's what I want to say. Like, I realize I'm stealing a line from Seinfeld, but
yeah.
How could you not like Dave? Like, what's there not to like?
There's a few things, I'm sure. But anywho, although it is funny, I will say whenever you go to Skinner's now, talking about water slides, whenever you go into Lockport and if you go to Skinner's, it's very weird not to see the water slide there anymore. Now that it's been taken.
I'm pretty sure that like people, they had like a sale and like they were auctioning off like pieces of the water slide and stuff like that. All I know is I never went to Skinner's. Like, I had a friend who always had a birthday party in July. His birthday was before mine. Everybody knows, obviously, my birthday is July 24th.
July 24th.
Same birthday as Patrice Bergeron, Anna Paquin, and J-Lo. No big deal. Barry Bonds. It's like the best birthday ever. But so my friend Anthony Johnston, I don't know if he's going to like me mentioning his name. He lives in New York now, and he's not a hockey fan. But he always used to have his birthday on July 23rd at Fun Mountain.
Yeah.
And I loved, obviously, the dragon and everything like that. But what I don't miss is that hot tub which had probably more urine per capita than any other pool on planet Earth. You remember that hot tub, Dave? You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I've never been a hot tub guy, probably because of that urine filled
Spency
pool.
is a hot tub guy, and I'm sure he's going to chime in with a comment here.
Yeah, I mean Spency's hot tub is the exception to the rule, of course, but the hot tub of the Skinner's era as probably a different situation. It's funny. I was, I guess, as a North Ender, I was more inclined to go to Skinner's than I was to Fun Mountain. Fun Mountain and what was the other thing right beside Fun Mountain that starts with an S?
Tinkertown.
Tinkertown. It doesn't start with an S. Starts with a T.
I took my kids to Tinkertown. When was that? August. And Adam Bighill was there with his kids.
Do you think that Adam Bighill is sitting there and going, "Hey, that's Ezra Ginsburg from the Illegal Curve Hockey Show"?
Absolutely not.
Oh,
but my kids love Adam Bighill. He's their favorite player because Ruben is 4, and long story short, Ruben had a Blue Bombers shirt and there was a stain. I think it was yogurt. So for the Grey Cup, he didn't have his Blue Bombers shirt, so he had a little blue shirt that had a number 4 because he turned 4 back in August.
Yeah.
And Naomi in marker drew a W on it, so I told him that Adam Bighill was number 4. So both my kids just kept screaming Adam Bighill during the Grey Cup. So it's pretty funny.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, we got to get to the Tough Duck. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, we've been talking, chatting it up about, water slides, water parks, Winnipeg potpourri, Manitoba stuff. Yeah, urine tub, a lot of different things. But we do have the Tough Duck hardest hitting comments. So as I'm presuming you're ready, you've got it ready to go?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, well then let's get it on right now. The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Lots of great comments as always. Spency, you will get your toque, just not today. We're going to give it to Patrick, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing this, but Guazd.
Sure.
Chisholm, fine out there, got an apple, took his eye off the puck behind O'Net late in the game, and Jets got caved in. Other than that, just fine. We talked about it earlier. Samberg and Chisholm were on the ice for the first goal scored by Connor Bedard. Obviously, a bad turnover by Samberg, but he redeems himself by picking up the primary assist on Cole Perfetti's goal. And obviously, Chisholm gets the secondary assist on Perfetti's goal. But we talked about it. Just under 13 minutes of ice time for Chisholm. Played really well. And, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Chisholm stays in the lineup and plays Carolina. Obviously, it's going to be Nate Schmidt or Declan Chisholm. But I'm going to say, Dave, that he did enough to impress Rick Bowness, Scott Arneal, and the coaching staff, and he's going to stay in the lineup. So, Patrick, send me an email, Ezra, EZRA, @illegalcurve.com, one word, with your mailing address info, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. Even though there is barely any snow, it's December 2nd, and there's barely any snow on the ground here in Manitoba and elsewhere. You still need a toque because it is chilly.
Well,
so
it's
congrats,
interesting.
Patrick.
Congrats, Patrick, and he gave you a thumbs up. So apparently you said a good. You did well on the last name pronunciation, Ezra. Well done. But I mean, I think
that could have just been a thumbs up because he's happy that he won a toque.
Oh, that's a good point. T. Conapoli got fired from Tinkertown when he was 15 for missing shifts and going to the Tubes concert. Way to go, T. Cona. That's such an amazing
get that
story.
comment up. Where's that comment? I'll try to find it.
Yeah, just find it. It wasn't that far.
Caps lock too from T. Conapoli.
There we go.
Well, T. Conapoli, me and you have something in common because, I mean, it doesn't matter now because I'm grown up and I have a full-time job with Hockey Manitoba, but I was fired from the River Heights Community Center canteen when I was 15 years old because I went to Kelvin High School and Clippers games were always at River Heights Community Center, home games. So I knew obviously everybody on the team and everybody that watched and stuff like that. I'm a popular guy, no big deal. So what I used to do is I would be like, yeah, come back here and take some candy or, have some nachos or something like that. And there's always the Winter Carnival, and I got fired before my shift. I showed up for my shift to the Winter Carnival, and there was a note saying that you in the canteen aren't quite working out. So it was a bit of a short-lived stint at the River Heights Community Center canteen. Yeah. T. Conapoli and I have that in common. He was fired from Tinkertown. So, maybe T. Conapoli and I can, have a beer one day and talk about our, stories. I was also fired from Safeway, but that's a different story.
I was never fired. I was removed from power. My authority was removed, although it backfired on them. Centennial School. Shout out to the Centennial School, just off
Nice.
Main Street, although it's now no longer there. Hashtag asbestos. But the fact is that I used to be a bus patrol, but I was nailed for unfortunately abusing my power, Ezra. I had my head was like full of power. But what they did was they didn't fire me because I think I was in grade 5, but they removed me from bus patrol to kindergarten patrol. But little did they know that at the corner of Main and Leela, for all you North Enders, little place called Windsor Foods, where I would pick up candy, go back to school. I wouldn't even pay attention if the kids got back to their house. I'd be like, oh yeah, you're fine. Go into Windsor Food, pick up candy, go back to school. And I was like, I'm handing out candy. I should have been running for school president. I would have won everything. Because yes, so they're trying to remove me from power. Backfired. I actually got more.
I'm not trying to one up you here, Dave, but I was also, apparently I was fired from a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because I was a patrol at Robert H. Smith School, and then they took away my little orange vest because I probably mouthed off to somebody. But the reason why that was so hard is I'm not sure what your patrol situation was at your school.
Yeah.
But every Monday, I remember all the patrols would go to Saints roller rink. Yes, that's how old I am that I'm talking about roller skating. The patrols would go roller skating to Saints roller rink. Everybody would talk about it. This was in grade 6, I believe.
Yeah.
And because I was kicked off the patrols, I didn't get to go to Saints roller rink. So everybody else got to go around and roller skate and listen to New Kids on the Block and all the hot tunes. I had to stay home.
Wow. See, as if you were North Ender, you would have gone to Wheelies, but it's all good.
Well,
Saints,
Wheelies was better from what I remember.
Wheelies
was better than Saints.
Yeah. Wheelies was.
Where was Saints? I don't even, what area of the city was that? Fort Garry?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I never went. I only went to Wheelies.
What was the roller skating rink that was across, that was near Portage and Sherbrooke? Remember that one?
Honestly,
Richardson College for the Environment now. Somebody in the chat can help me out. There was a roller skating rink, Portage and Langside, I believe.
Oh, well. Anyways, let's just, we're as Tracy just acknowledged.
Bruce is mentioning it's near Gateway Arena. Pardon me,
that's what I thought.
Arena.
That's what I thought.
That's
actually.
Fort Garry.
Yeah.
Like Fort Garry industrial area.
Yeah. Just quickly though, because you made a Ginsburg guarantee about Declan Chisholm playing the next game. These are the comments from Rick Bonus, courtesy of our friend Connor Harebchuk. He said, I thought he was very confident and poised with the puck, and that's what we wanted him to do tonight. He skates well, we know that, but he was confident with the puck. The plays he made were the right play. He didn't make the wrong play. Sometimes when you're under pressure, you give your problems to somebody else, and you're passing it to the wrong guy. He passed it to the right guy. So, it's again, it
Stu,
matches.
you're talking about Magic Land, by the way.
Oh, those were
that was the arcade on Portage near U of W.
Yeah, that was
Magic
a classic.
Land. Yep.
Golden Axe, some really good games back in the day. But anyways, we could. Hey, if you guys want, we'll digress all day, all night. No Mindell means there's nobody poo-pooing us unless it's Poo Stain who's in the chat. But nobody's poo-pooing us, telling us to wrap it up. So
there's no fun in Mindell.
No, that is true. That is true. What else, Ezra? Well, we've got, of course, the recap is going to be on illegalcurve.com. We will have the coaches' comments on our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribing. And, for the record, when you watch those videos on our YouTube channel, and if you'll notice this year, we've been at almost every practice. We do have all the chats where.
Well, you specifically, Dave. I got to give you a lot of credit because I haven't gone to any practices this year. I'm not able to, but props to you because I think you've gone to almost every single one of them.
We're a collective. That's why I use our or we as but the fact of the matter is that if you can smash a like on those videos when you're watching them and listening to them, and that always helps as well. Whew, it has been a long show, but I think it is time to tell Frosty to queue up our sponsors because it's time to thank them. Remember, of course, look at this, right on time as Frosty. Got to thank Frosty. He does it. He always has it ready. We'll get that up there because we want to give a big thank you to all of the sponsors of the Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. They are Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Tuck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Farmery Beer. Oh, there we go. And Fireball, of course. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. Okay,
this bottle's actually getting close to the end, Dave. It was kind of half full for a while, but now it's getting to, I'd say it's only a third full now. So we've done this is a 1 liter bottle too. So I think we've done a pretty good job.
We did a good job, but there may or may not be another one or two in the in the old medicine cabinet, so you can
got reserves. I like it.
You do. So, anyways, Perry wants us to have some IC jackets. Maybe we'll talk about that. Where it doesn't look like IC gear is going to come.
In honor of my dad, we would do the Canadian tuxedo. I mean, if we're doing jackets, we're doing denim. We're doing it right. We're doing it proper.
Well, we could do a John Liu style, because every once in a while I always forget. John Liu, of course, had the suit made, but it's like a sweatsuit. Like his tailor actually made a sweatsuit that looks like a suit. So it's like you're literally wearing sweatpants, but it looks like a suit. So it's pretty significant. Anywho, it's been a long day. It's been a long, exciting day. But again, we'll be back at you. We've got illegalcurve.com. You can, if you didn't catch this morning's show, that's 2 hours of Jets talk. The Jets Hawks stuff, you can skip past that. We did a lot of other conversation about the Jets. Did some really good stuff.
Disgruntled Wheat said too. Acid wash.
Oh yeah, those are classic.
Yeah. Very 90s.
What's that?
Very 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Very early 90s. But the point is that as he derailed my thought, but I was going to say that you can, what was I saying? I was about to talk about the Moose. Good Moose content. Thanks to our friend Daniel Fink, play-by-play voice of the Manitoba Moose, who joined us from 10:30 till almost 11. So if you want to catch up on the latest with the Jets prospects, you can either go see them live tomorrow. That puck drop is at 2:00, or you can listen to today's show. And then not regular acid, Spency. We don't encourage that sort of thing.
No.
But you can check out the Moose game. 2:00, they'll have a rematch with the Ice Hogs tomorrow afternoon. And then they're on the road. They'll be here for a few days. Then they head out to Calgary, probably later in the week. I'm guessing Thursday or Friday. And then they're back. And we'll have more tickets for giveaway in the IC zone. That's coming your way in a couple of weeks, when the Jets are back and the Moose are back. So lots of hockey coming your way. We'll have lots of hockey this week. Of course, like I said, the Jets play Carolina on Monday. We don't know about the practice schedule. I think right now they're scheduled to practice 11. If they do, we'll be there, and I'll have that covered before I head over to the Moose game. So make sure you keep it locked to our YouTube channel. Make sure you keep it locked to illegalcurve.com. Make sure you smash the like before you head out for the rest of your Saturday night. We appreciate you spending your Saturday morning with us on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We appreciate you spending your Saturday evening, which it now is, Ezra.
And we appreciate Drew deciding to take tonight's post-game show off.
Well, it was a lot more fun. Illegal Curve post-game show. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, the rest of your weekend, and join us on Monday for another version, the 24th version of the Illegal Curve post-game show. All right, everyone, have a good night, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
Peace.